Hi, I'm Vivek. Welcome to the AI and Era podcast. Before we deep dive into this podcast, let me set whole event. Today, our guest is not only stepping to the story, but he is rewriting how he told. He is an award-winning executive producer, TEDx speaker, and creative visionary leader in the big companies like Walt Disney, Universal Studios, and Electronic Arts Sports. So, which ideas has rippled across the industries? So let him in. Side of our podcast, Mr. Paul Osterhout. If you want to see our podcast without skipping, this is for you to for educational purpose, learning purpose, and creative purpose. Thank you so much. Let's start to the podcast and keep watching. Good morning, sir. And we know that previously we were doing a lot of excitement questions with the answers and excitement experience opportunities you are giving us, like how the Disney and how the Universal Studios are giving a lot of efforts and do the big universe, and how the people are going for the recruitment of job. They are doing a lot of talents, and how the talents are using in a proper way. So today is also a day where we can discuss about that the people who imagining of the imagining of the real meaning of the Disney. So like how
Hmm.
the imagining of the Disney can make to the future. So the future can bright for the world happiness. So welcome to the show, Mr. Paul Hosterhart, and really appreciate with your time. So you are here. Uh, First of all, when I read to the Disney's biography, and I saw each and everything which is very difficulty they face, very difficulty to imagine creativity. So my first question is, what does imagineering really mean in simple words? What does the meaning of the imagineering? Why people are so much imagineering uh, term of the word?
Right. So, Imagineering is a term that Walt Disney came up with. It blends two words, imagination and engineering. And so when you only have creativity, sometimes things aren't buildable. You can't have they don't exist in the real world because it's your imagination, right? Engineering is something that's tangible, something that can be accomplished using using technology, using better, well-rounded thought, um, new tools. So, so the blend of this creativity where anything can happen and engineering where it has to exist in the real world comes together, and that's Imagineering. So you can have the smartest, most clever artist or people in one side of the table, and at the other side of the table, you have engineers who look at the inspiration and say, "How can we make this real?" And so that is the blending of Imagineering, and that's why Imagineering is so very successful, and that's why a lot of companies now think that way. It's a blend of creativity and then a blend of real world practicality.
Yeah, like um, because they want the future. So like the Disney is always comes, or any company, if they compare with the Disney or Disney compare with the other companies, they want the future. They want the future technologies. They want the future animators, producers, directors. We can see to the future and grab to the speaker, grab to the users, and viewers' mentality directly to show their products. So really, thank you so much for that. And can you share some fun example of Disney technology that was ahead of its time? Any technology which is
Yeah,
very
it's funny. When we think about technology, a lot of times we look at things and say, how can we misuse that technology? How can we reuse that technology, right?
yeah,
So one of our Imagineers just happened to see an aircraft simulator, a simulator where pilots train before they actually fly the plane. They practice in simulators where they have lots of media inputs and it's a motion base and the trainers are giving them sequences which they have to really think about how we're going to solve this problem very quickly.
no,
And that simulator was made by a company called Rediffusion
okay,
in the UK. And they looked at that and they said, wow, that's a great technology. But what if we don't do an aircraft simulator to train pilots? What if we put people, guests, on that simulator and take them to a far off planet? And so that idea of not misusing technology directly, but saying, let's use this technology in a different way. And that idea of how do we take this technology, how do we use it, became Star Tours. And Star Tours has been around now for I don't know, 40, almost 40 years or so, maybe even longer. I don't know. But that technology of a flight simulator, but brought into a theme park, is kind of this blending of future technology with an idea. So you have an engineer that
yeah,
says we can move 30 people in so many degrees of motion, and you had a creative person who says, I really want to take people to a different planet. And so that's the magic of it. That's the blending of technology and creativity. Um, you see it now. You see a lot of focus on engineering on robotics.
yeah,
Everybody is now looking at robotics, and most of the uses of robotics are, not really humanoid in appearance. They're
no,
like they're picking up
yeah,
packages and boxes and that kind of stuff, but they're autonomous. They're doing it on their own. And now you're looking at Disney and they're like, well, how can we use robotics or Universal? Here's a better example. Universal saw these robots, they're called KUKA, they're made in Germany, KUKA arms, which basically pick up a product and put it on a shelf or move something from point A to point B, and they do it very specifically every time.
yeah,
It's very, precise. Well, they looked at that technology and they said, how can we use this in our theme park?
yeah,
Well, what if we had a rides vehicle that gets picked up by a robot arm and gets deposited somewhere every time? And that became the start for the Harry Potter attraction that is now famous around the world. The Harry Potter Hogsworth Castle
yeah,
ride. That's all done by KUKA arms. But the KUKA arms weren't designed to pick up ride vehicles and with people on them. They're designed to move heavy packages from one place to another in manufacturing facilities. So that's another use of a technology that gets transported into the theme park world.
was,
And now you're
yes,
seeing a lot of AI now being explored, and how are we going to use AI? And I think there's a lot of discussion about giving more freedom to the audience to make decisions.
yes,
And once those decisions are made, a story decision, then AI is going to be built to maybe it uses an Unreal graphic engine that creates a new scene. And
yeah,
it's all going to be done very quickly, very seamlessly, so that the audience, what we like to say in the theme park world is, let's make the magic invisible. The more invisible we can make the magic, the more the audience is in it and can believe it.
yeah,
But if you're seeing how something is done, well, that takes you out of the moment. It takes you out of the experience. So we try very, very hard to make the magic invisible.
yeah. Like AI and the technology, when they mix it, so the company can grows more higher. So that's why that's why the companies like Disney always find that they want to grow with the technology also nowadays. If you talk about the creativity, if someone is very working hard and employee, and they don't know how to use the AI, but they don't know they know just how to manually do that work. Is that
Mhm.
really giving a respectable thing in the inside of the Disney? It's like the employees should get some respect by the Disney employee or not? Is like if you don't know the AI, you should be abandoned from the all the respects.
No, no.
Just do that. Okay.
So here's what I think about AI. Okay, I
Yeah.
don't think AI is coming to replace us.
Yes.
They're coming to accelerate us, coming to make things that we already do, make them
Hmm.
faster, make them
Yeah.
better. And I think that people, the leaders that are
Yeah.
bringing AI in, I
Yeah.
think they really need to think about AI as being like an intern, right?
Okay.
You don't give an intern access to all your sensitive information. You make sure that you check the work of an intern. You don't just assume they're going to get it right.
Yeah.
You have to give the intern guidance on what you want the intern to do. And I think the more that we start to think about AI as being the intern and not the CEO or not
Okay.
the CIO. It's there to help us do what we're already doing, just be more efficient at it. To me, that's how we should be approaching AI. We should be giving, if you're an older employee and you have not grown up or you haven't learned AI in university,
Yeah.
I encourage everybody to explore AI, which I have been
Okay.
doing. And even though I'm, old and I'm mostly retired now, I think
Okay.
AI is fascinating. But the more I use it, the more I understand it's very frustrating too, because unless you give it a very, very specific prompt, you're crossing your fingers that the output is what you want, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's for me, it's an exploration about how do I tell it what I want and how do I become like an intern. How do I become patient with it when it comes back with not what I wanted, right? So
Yeah.
again, the more we can think about AI as an intern, I think we'll embrace AI a little bit better. And I don't think I don't think for the most part we should fear AI taking our jobs. Obviously, that's going to happen because if your job can be replaced by AI, okay. But again, we really need to think about AI as the intern and not the leader, not the boss.
Yeah. It's like we should know we should take the AI as an intern. It's good, and accelerate to ourselves with the AI, with a smart thing. So that
Mhm.
we can take all the cells mainly as a respectable manner. It's a good point, sir. Thank you so much for this point. And okay, at that time of yours, how you manage yourself in the specific companies, like you have a Disney, you have a Electronic Arts Sports, which is a very gaming
Mhm.
company, and really like most every people in India or every people in everywhere in the world, they know to the Electronic Arts with the FIFA World
Mhm.
Cup, with the very many games they are developing
Mhm.
in the sports areas mostly, and
Mhm.
the Universal Studios also, and your own company
Mhm.
also. So basically, in your time, how you can manage yourself in every specific companies, like you change the Disney
Mhm.
company, like in the Universal Studio, how you change your mindset, how you adapt to their situation.
Well, the first thing when I go to a new company, I try to understand the culture of the company. What is the culture? What is the history? What is the DNA? What makes this company work or in some cases not work? And so I try to observe for the first maybe week, 2 weeks, or maybe it takes longer to observe how information flows in this company, who the real decision makers are in this company, and then in this company, whether it's Disney or Universal Electronic Arts, how does this company define success?
Okay.
How do they what is their success model? What are they looking to do? What are their and I don't mean goals because to me goals are short-term steps to getting to success. A goal if you're electronic arts, a goal may be we have to get 4 minutes of animation done this week. That's a
Okay.
goal. That's
Mm.
not how you define ultimately how you define success. How you define success is you create a game that everybody wants to play, right?
Okay.
That's your success. The
Yeah.
goals are steps that are going to get us there.
Yeah.
And and more companies like Disney and Universal, they're very distinct companies, but they are starting to become more alike. Especially in the theme park world, it's a very small community. And so some people that may have worked for Disney for a while now may work for Universal. And people that worked for Universal for a while may now work for Disney. So there's this blending of cultures,
Yeah.
kind of this melting pot of cultures in the way of doing things. Now, of course, they each have their own DNA, they each have their own history. So they're not going to they're not going to move too far off of that.
Yeah.
They're what how they've been successful for a reason because they follow a certain guidelines. They're not going to move too far off of that. But the way they get there, maybe it changed a little bit. And our industry is changing as well. There's now a lot of smaller companies that are ex Disney people, ex Universal
Yeah.
people, I mean, we talk about Universal and Disney, but there's a lot
Yeah.
of companies out there with very, very creative people. And so we now, Disney and Universal and the bigger companies will tap into these smaller companies to take over to some of these smaller problems that need to
Yeah.
be solved. And the big ideas, the big narratives, the big stories may still come from Disney and Universal, but
Yeah.
they may hire out somebody to figure out the ride system, or they may hire out somebody to provide architecture support. But I think to get back to the answer of your question, I've always taken time to understand the company I was going to into,
Yeah.
and most importantly, how do they define success? And then once I understand that, then I can formulate a plan. Oh, that's what they believe success is. So either I agree
Yeah.
and I just say, okay, let's go do that, or I may say, I don't know that that's really what they should be focused on, and I'll have discussions with them. And like, hey, this is what you believe, but have you thought about this or have you thought about that? So, yeah. And
Yeah.
then being in the theme park world, um, most everything you want to start with a good story. You want to start with a good narrative, and you want to understand why people go to theme parks, whether it's Universal or Ad Labs Magica or anywhere, Legoland. It's like, why do people want to go to theme parks? And so you have to put that in one part of your brain as well. And you have to bring that kind of knowledge to the table as part of what you bring. You bring an understanding of how audiences react to certain things, why they want to go to theme parks. And so you bring that all to the table.
Okay. So thank you so much. And so really, I used to be appreciate your all the efforts has be gone like uh, the companies to observing to the companies all the specific things, and after that we are doing the work that is be very stampful for your employable characters or employable things. So uh, really, my next question is what Disney really want from their employees? They really employees be good at work, or they should be relaxed, good at work, or if you don't do these two things, you also be acceptable or welcome.
Well, I mean, it's we you have to remember we work in creative industry, the theme park world, the world of electronic arts. They're creative industries, right? So the first thing is it's hard to schedule inspiration, right? So if you're on the creative side, for instance, it's hard to schedule inspiration. Um, but if you're a well-rounded, well-read person, you've traveled a lot, inspiration comes quicker, comes sooner. Just because you have a lot to pull from. You think about, where does creativity come from? There's a lot of people say, oh, there's no new ideas. It's just different ways of assembling the parts and pieces of an idea. And so the way I think about it is, you have a problem to solve as a creative person. You have a problem to solve, right? And imagine this problem is a little ball. Now, in India, I don't know if pachinko is a game, or maybe pinball, or either way. But this ball gets dropped into your head, and this ball drops down, and it hits all these little points, these little pins. And these little pins are your experiences, your beliefs, things you've seen before, little pieces of idea that you've had before. And as this ball drops, it gets bounced around, bing, 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 bing. And then it eventually you go like, oh, now I can start to put a new idea together, a new thought together. And to me, for me, that's how I think about inspiration. So the more well-read you have, the more experiences that you've had, the more let's say you wanted to go into the theme park world, the more theme parks you visited and just observed and watched and said, oh, that works, oh, that doesn't work. And you start to think about it that way. All of these experiences now become a new point in your brain, a new pin in your brain that you'll remember. And so you can start to gather more. And the more of those you have, the more creative I think you'll be, the more ideas that you will have. Now, the more ideas that you have, everybody's going to have bad ideas, right? There's no doubt about it. Everybody's going to have bad ideas. But the more ideas you have, then the ratio of good to bad follows onto the good side, because
Yeah.
they're not all going to be bad ideas, right? So you get more ideas. So the way to have more good ideas, to get more experiences and more, just that's it, more experiences and more, be more well read, get a lot of education,
Yeah.
um, just do things. Yeah, so that's to me, that's to be successful on the creative side, you have to be creative. You have to have ideas. So how do you do that? More experiences. Now, you're an engineer. How do you succeed at these bigger companies? Well, you have to stay on top of latest trends. You have to keep educating yourself. As an engineer, you graduate with an engineering degree.
Yes.
Your education is just starting.
Yes.
Even though you've graduated, now your education is really just starting. And so, keep an open mind, explore new possibilities, think about how would you build a better something, a better mousetrap, how would you do that? And that may not be your job for the day, but you're always thinking about that. You're always taking things apart and understanding, how do they work? How could I make this more efficient? How could I, especially in software, right? You could write a piece of code for an app or something, and it'll be, you know 100,000 lines of code.
Yeah.
But as an engineer, you go like, could I do this in 75 lines of code? Could I get the same result, but be more efficient? And I'm gonna guess the answer is always going to be yes. There's always going to be more efficient way of doing something. So if you just keep exploring that, keep thinking about it, never rest, never think that you know everything, or never think that you know enough, but you just keep learning, keep learning, keep learning, keep learning. Um, like with AI, right? AI is new for a lot of us, so let's all go learn AI.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your all the opinions. I appreciated your all the answers, and I just want to say about it. We have a parks here, like they are only the simple parks, but they are not the theme parks. So for the most of the theme parks is actually very colorful, very we can say the parks is having a lot of things like characters. They are having some engineering things, imaginations, world of things. So literally, it's amazing, but they are not themes. So that's why we are going for boring. So, would you suggest me that how we can these small parks, um, small were converted into the theme parks? Because theme parks is
Yeah.
naturally it's very difficult to make
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Well, we have the same issue here in the West, the United States. And what we differentiate them, when a park has rides, but not very good storytelling, no themes, we just call that's an amusement park. It's not a theme park. It's an amusement park. When you have a place with rides that tell a narrative story or immerse you in this world, then you have a theme park. So I think in India, um, and it's an evolution, right? I mean, when Walt Disney created Disneyland, it was an evolution. It was
Yeah.
like he wanted to make something that was not an amusement park. He wanted to have you forget the outside world. He wanted to take you into the stories that he was telling in his movies and
Yeah.
in his television programs. So that was the inspiration for Disneyland. So that was the start really of real theme parks, is to go into different lands where you're immersed in this story. And I think the more and more, when you get developers in India or people who want to do theme parks in India, I hope they look to the West. I hope they look to Universal and Disney and try to understand, why are they so successful? Not because they're bigger, they are, but that's not why they're successful. They're successful because they can take you out of the real world and immerse you into this fantasy world, this made up world.
Yes.
And that's the magic of the theme parks. That's why we go to theme parks. We want to be immersed in the world of Luke Skywalker, or the world of Harry Potter, or
Yes.
and I'm sure there's some famous Indian
Actress.
media brands or films or television shows
Yes.
that I'm not aware of, that as a consumer you would go like, oh, that was such a cool movie. I wish I could go into that world. And
Yeah.
that's how and so you have to get a developer, whether it's a movie studio, which that's Universal and Disney, right?
Yes.
That's their background. And what they wanted to do, what both of those companies wanted to do, was, we have these great movies. How can we get them to live on longer? How can we
Yes.
get people out of their living rooms to go be in those movies or in those
Yes.
television shows? And so that's the secret. And I think if you get, Indian film companies or movie studios, or
Yes.
maybe even just a rich developer who understands the real magic of a theme park, and then hopefully they'll say, I'm going to take the investment. It's going to cost a little bit more money, but I believe in this idea that people want to go have this experience. And then I
Yes.
think once the first person does that, then everybody will see that it's successful, and it will be, then India will be the theme park capital of the world.
Yes. Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your. It's a beautiful answer, which is really giving us a motivation as well as make some discipline with to be with the goal. So one day that will be also a theme park where the people only not only to roaming here and there, but also they are happy when they see when they feel that the park they we
Yeah,
have something. Okay, thank you so
yeah,
much, sir. And like you are coming to my show, and really I appreciate it all the precious time. And I hope your health should be very wish, and your health, and you are so means in the future we can also talk about all the Disney things or all the wishes things which can lead to the future. And thank you so much for that.
yeah.
And your week
Well,
also yeah your week is
yeah,
also
it's
good,
it's been
yeah.
it's been my pleasure to be back. It's been my pleasure to be back to talk about this. I think that we mentioned one time that I lived in Mumbai for a little while working on the Ad Labs Magica project,
Yes,
and that it was good. I mean, I didn't get to finish it because I got recruited to go to Universal before the project was done. But I think that's the step in the right direction. Um, the Ad Labs Magica was a step in. narrative and storytelling, where you get immersed in these stories. Now, each individual attraction was its own story, so there wasn't really a theme to all of these other, the overall theme was kind of still missing, or could have used a little bit of work. But at least Mr. Shetty took a step in going in that direction, and it cost a little bit extra money, but he knew that the people of India were ready for that. We're ready for that more story-driven experiences, and so I applaud the Shetty family for all of that. And I think it's a start, and I hopefully, somebody else will step up and say, "Hey, that's good. Now let's do another one, but let's do it better." And then that's the birth of the theme park industry in India.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your all the answers and appreciation. I really grateful towards your answers. So now I have to stop this podcast because already the time is gone. The 1 hour 30 minutes of the podcast. And thank you so much for coming, sir. You always come and you really appreciate. Um, I really appreciate your all the effort. Thank you so much for coming. And
All
we
right, you're welcome.
all yes, we just loved your all the work and efforts. So thank you so much for coming, sir. So now I stop to this,
You're welcome.
show. Yeah. Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Yeah.
Well, everybody keep creating, no matter if it's
Yes.
engineering or being creative. Just keep creating.
Yes,
It'll
sir.
be good.
Definitely, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for coming.
All
Yeah.
right.
I appreciate
Bye-bye.
it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a
Bye-bye.
good day. Yeah.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.